Both the United States and Utah were created upon religious freedom and the escape from persecution. Around the 1830s, those who were a part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is also known as LDS, were looked down upon because of their beliefs. This persecution set off events that led to the formation of Utah. For the members of the church, persecution from all over the East led them to move from one area to another, only to be harassed even more. Their houses were burned to the ground, they were physically assaulted, and some were killed. Misconceptions and lies about the LDS Church and its members became so outrageous that it served as a motive to escalate the situation. While in Missouri, rumors spread stating that the church was going to try and invade and had allegedly killed a Missouri militia. Mayor Boggs issued the Missouri Executive Order 44, also known as the Extermination Order, which gave people the right to kill any member of the LDS Church. Members of the church started traveling out west to find religious freedom and safety in the late 1840s. When the pioneers came across the Salt Lake Valley on July 24, 1847, their leader, Brigham Young, declared, "This is the place," and they started settling. They originally called the state Deseret, but it was later changed to Utah. Thousands of people migrated in groups to Salt Lake. The most famous group was called the Willie Martin Handcart Company. In July 1856, over 1,000 LDS immigrants left Iowa for Salt Lake. Unfortunately, while traveling, winter came and the extreme cold made progress very slow. Due to the slow progression, food became scarce. Many people died from hypothermia or starvation. If the ground was not frozen, it was common to have mass graves and assign grave diggers. If the ground was frozen, the pioneers had to leave their loved ones' bodies along the side of the road or in trees. When Brigham Young found out that members were stranded along the pioneer trails and had been caught in the snow, he sent out a rescue party. One of the individuals who was sent was my ancestor named Thomas Steed. Even though he and the other rescuers helped bring the members to Salt Lake City, more than 200 people died. Once groups started arriving in Utah, they started building. The most predominant building is the Salt Lake Temple, which took over 40 years to complete. It is built by hand from granite that was excavated and moved over 20 miles to the temple's location. Millions of people, not members and non-members, have come from all over the world just to see the temple. Although the Salt Lake Temple was the first temple in Utah to start construction, 3 other temples were started and completed before the Salt Lake Temple was finished. They are the St. George Temple, Logan Temple, and Manti Temple. While they are all spread out in Utah, they all have similar features in their structure and have similar symbolism engraved throughout the temples. Another area that was built was Morgan County. My ancestor Thomas Jefferson Thurston and his 2 sons were cutting logs when they saw what is now called Morgan Valley. He and his 2 friends explored it and discovered that it had a lot of natural resources. The only problem was it was surrounded by mountains with only a narrow river leading into it. In 1855, Thomas Jefferson Thurston finally convinced a small group of his friends into helping him make a small road to get to the valley. Using tools such as shovels, picks, crowbars, and small plows, they managed to create a simple path into the valley. He and his family moved there and helped others move into the area. By the time the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, over 60,000 pioneers from all over the world had migrated to Utah. The railroad helped many members of the LDS Church travel to Utah faster and easier. Today, 60% of Utahns are LDS, which has made the LDS culture one of the most predominant cultures in Utah. The memory of the pioneers is still strong in Utah. We celebrate and remember the pioneers and their journey to Utah on July 24th, Pioneer Day. There are reenactments, school field trips, a rodeo, festival, concerts, and parades leading up to and on Pioneer Day. In my family, Pioneer Day is a mix between the 4th of July and Thanksgiving. During our celebration, we give thanks to the pioneers by remembering what they went through. In the afternoon, we gather and go to a parade. Then after, we go and have a big feast and watch fireworks when it's dark. One way the youth of the LDS Church reflects and remembers the pioneers is by going on what's called trek. Trek is an activity where they exercise the faith and determination that the pioneers had. With all of their belongings in a 5-gallon container and stored in a handcart, they travel along the same path as the pioneers. The leaders of the youth make their experience as close as possible to the pioneers. Each youth is assigned to represent a pioneer family and a member of that family. Along with that information, they get details of the pioneer's life that they are representing to connect with and make the experience more personal. One of the hardest things about trek is the women's pull. During this time, the men have to stand aside and watch the women struggle as they pull the handcarts up a steep hill by themselves. This is supposed to represent the struggle that the female pioneers went through, as most of the males were either dead or fighting in the Mexican-American War. The LDS Church has also produced movies about the pioneers. One is called 17 Miracles. It is about the Willie Martin Handcart Company and the conditions that they endured. More than that, it is about the miracles they saw during their trek and the faith it took to continue onwards. Another movie that was made is called Ephraim's Rescue. This is a story about how a man named Ephraim followed his heart throughout his life. His decisions led him to be one of the individuals who left Salt Lake in hopes of finding the Willie Martin Handcart Company and bringing them back safely. He was able to find them and save many lives in the process. While Utah pioneers may not be the most entertaining topics, it is part of my heritage. I love learning about my ancestors and all about their lives. So as a final thought, do you know who your ancestors are and what they went through? There might be some good stories and life lessons from your ancestors.